Yeah. So that's what it looks like.
Anything you want to add? Anything that
Thanks
comes
for
to mind?
painting a picture. Well, I think another thing I want to, because of again the context we're talking of, how people meet. That's another question. What the dating scene currently looks like. Where do people actually meet? I think just casting my mind back to different people, I like to ask people, where did you meet? How did you meet? Yeah, people meet in school. So when you go to school, again, and remember, and by school I mean university. Most times when people go to school, they are going away from home. They're going away from their cultural context. And so we met in school, for example. And where both of us schooled wasn't even anywhere close to where we're living.
Yeah.
Right? So people meet in
We
school.
would have never have met even for school.
Yes, exactly. We wouldn't have met if not for school. People meet in work. People meet online.
I think online is the biggest now.
Is it really?
It is.
Interesting.
think
I
online
can't
is the
even
biggest now.
imagine how it is. When I hear people that say they met on Twitter,
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
was- for our generation, it was very weird. Meeting
How?
someone, it was kind of like taboo.
on that same online.
Yeah, it was
That's,
very- in that time, it was
there
like
are plenty
taboo
people
meeting
that are
people
not
online.
so okay. I'll be too scared to
There was
even
a
try
stigma
it.
now. When we were growing up, there's a stigma.
Yes.
When you say you met someone
You met somebody
online,
online,
there was a
like-
stigma like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you meeting a stranger online? And what were you guys talking about? That
Do you understand how? And maybe because sometimes it feels like such a cluttered marketplace. How do you meet someone in the midst of all the? Well, I don't know. So let me just mention it that people meet online, people
church.
meet in school, people meet in church, people meet from neighborhoods growing up.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that one's everything.
Someone that you've
Mutual
always known,
friends.
mutual friends,
Hang out to the party and then mutual friends introduce you.
hangouts. My audience, where do you people meet your lovers?
All those ones are church people. They all
Church
meet in
people. So
church.
he met his own in school. Where do you meet your
School.
NYC?
NYC.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes like
Where do you meet
school,
your
career,
church?
work. Church, this was church now.
Church. So I have one church, one school, one NYC. People meet in NYC as well. NYC was also a very scary place for people to meet because there was this mindset that
Summer of love kind of thing.
yeah, summer of love. That
is
NYC,
what-
you just
yeah,
love
you-
yourself
for
first
3
and foremost
weeks.
the first 3 weeks.
And then you go, yeah.
Anything that happens in NYC camp stays in NYC
camp,
camp.
yeah.
So it just felt like it would never last. So people meet NYC. What are other places that you know people have met? Club. People meet in club. As are people that marry, they meet in club.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm gathering data, so let me just add it. Other places.
That's it.
That's it.
Those are- That's it.
I mean,
Every other thing is a subset of what we've said.
yeah. So people meet in those places, and then they get talking, and then when they get talking, they now have to date. Now, so that's one of the
They
contemporary.
don't say have to date. Oh. Many of them just
So they have to get to know each other, and then that's what dating is. They go out on dates.
they've blurred the lines.
So
So there's this talking
talking
to
stage,
dating,
dating
to
stage,
courtship thing. That's so weird. That
No, but I
people
think
don't draw the
courtship line is quite clear. For courtship line, that's when for courtship, most people say that this person asked me out on this date, and I said yes.
But many of them, it doesn't count as courtship because they asked you out. They are not sure whether they will marry you.
Oh, I
So
get
that's
what
not
you
still
mean.
courtship. That's like
you're right.
dating.
I've heard people define courtship as we are formally exclusive to each other.
Yes.
But the person they will now say that after courtship, they will now ask me to marry.
Yes.
Okay, so me, I'm using my church mind to think that the moment you are courting, you are getting married.
No. So in practice,
Right.
we
Okay.
have getting to know. Then there's talking stage that can be very emotionally.
There's meeting, there's getting to meet.
meeting. There's talking stage
There's talking
that can get very emotionally demanding.
Yeah.
Then there's I formally asked you out.
That
where
talking
we are
stage, there's
exclusive.
dating too. What I mean by dating is we are going out on dates. We are going to different places. There's
Yes.
dating, yes.
We're going out on dates, but I've not asked you out.
But I've not asked you out.
Then there's I've asked you out, but I don't know if I'll marry you.
Okay, so
But we're
we're
going out.
exclusive. So at that particular point in time, we're exclusive to one another. You are my
Yes.
boyfriend. I'm your girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll value each other.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then there is now I'm asked you to marry me.
Where you now formally start planning
Yes.
towards the wedding.
All these steps,
So you can see singles are going through a lot.
they're going through a lot. And it has changed so much in such a short time.
Yeah.
So much.
And I think part of the things that has also contributed to it, and we'll talk about it in the next, I think is the third one, is this concept of falling in love. But
Let's keep it.
let's keep it. So
So-
now, what should be the Christian approach to all these stages that you've mentioned?
You know, okay, there's no perfect situation. So I don't want to give like an absolute thing because people are different and everything.
Yeah.
So ideally, normally, what should be the telos, right? The normal thing is You should meet the person, be friends with them without an emotional entanglement, without any expectation of exclusivity.
Brotherly and sisterly friendship.
Yes, but you also know that the person is a good person. You're getting to know whether the person is a good mate, a viable mate for you. And then you will now officially enter into a relationship leading to marriage. Now, that officially leading to marriage relationship will happen after you have been brothers and sisters. Then you bring in your family into the conversation at that point. Ideally, you should have a Christian biological family. So you should tell your parents that there's this brother or sister I really like.
And
I would
I'm
like if this is
interested,
just tell me about another, but I don't want to put pressure or whatever and everything and all that. Even at that point, because of urbanization and all that, and the parents should be involved. The parents should be able to see a person as a friend around you, so they have a sense of it. And then your parents should already be asking the other parents.
What do you mean a person you see as a friend? At that particular point, have you made a formal?
No, but they're in church. You have a biological Christian family in church. They are Christians.
Okay, so you're talking of your Christian family in church.
Your Christian biological family. No, your parents, your father and your mother.
Okay.
So,
okay, assuming that your father and mother, you guys are all going to church.
Yes,
okay,
all going to church and all that. So even if it's in school, wherever you met the person.
So you're saying you need to bring them in to give them an idea before you formally ask.
Before you formally ask.
Okay.
So even they should be involved. Like they should know. They should be able to also ask.
But their involvement shouldn't be too deep where they are doing research or anything about the person.
They can't even at some level.
Without you asking the girl out?
Before you ask her out.
I don't think so.
They should.
I think they should be. I think if you're meeting in church, we're assuming, and remember we mentioned different places people can meet. I think if you're meeting in church, and they know
why?
They know about
because
the person.
when you are asking a person out, you are asking to marry.
And at that point, after you've made your commitment to marry, it's not as if you will now come back and say, I'm not doing it again.
It's not after you have committed. You're not start telling your parents to go and research. So there are some basic things they should be able to know. Now, because our communities are not small, they're not urban, the amount of research they can do is limited.
Yeah.
But if there is a certain kind of structure where they can make those research, they should. For example, growing up in church, or even if you're in church, you meet her in school and everything, and say, I've met one girl. This is her social media handle. She's a brother, sister, she's a friend, and all that. They should ask. They should look, where's her family? Where's she from?
Okay, so they will most times ask you questions that who is she, where is she from, what is she? Okay,
and the same should happen with your spiritual family, your pastors, your elders, people in your church, and all that.
And
so,
you make a strong point, because what this helps us correct is the communal part of entry in relationships. Again, it relieves you of some of the burden, because here is the funny thing. And
now this is assuming you are the one that met the person.
What do you mean?
Assuming you are the one that met the person. Because
there's
another pathway. He has not arranged. There's another pathway we should talk about also, which is also good. You know, we're talking about what is good.
Yeah.
We're talking about what is good. So finish first.
Let's finish. Yes.
It solves something. It solves the problem.
Yes, it solves the part of not putting too much burden on you to find out some of those things.
Exactly.
Which also leads me, and part of the reason why this step is important, like bringing your family, and by your family, bringing your biological family, assuming they are Christians, and your Christian family into it at this particular point in time, is most times when you are in love, you know the two see road.
Well. That's what I'm saying.
Now, here is the part that I now want to talk about. This thing I just said, when you're in love. The moment you see, you behold a sister, and you begin to consider the person for possible dating, it's very difficult for you not to begin to develop feelings.
No, you can develop feelings, but you must not have any conversation of creating expectations or mutual exclusivity between you. That's why there's an ethic. Yes.
You want to jump from brother and sister into relationship.
Yes, there's an ethic, and this ethic is very important.
Sam.
So listen, that is the reason why this. Thank God you just gave us history now. This is the implication of the history, because even based on this history, that is what we've always done. We've gone from I literally just saw you, they arranged it, into we are committed to each other. That gap is even a bigger leap compared to what I'm saying. Because this person can know brothers and sisters, and both of you can understand and have an unspoken social contract that, okay, this person is checking me out, without making that commitment to each other. It's even still easier than they make the arrangement for you and they did all the work on your behalf.
At what point do you try and make sure you guys develop feelings for each other? Because we've also spoken about the importance of being attractive.
So the point
it's not the most important thing, but you should be attractive.
So the point of doing it is that when you now want to commit to the person and you want to like the person and everything, you tell everybody and they commit to it. Then you can now tell the person how you are feeling. It is from that point of telling the person how you are feeling that the conversation will now go to, okay, let me think about it. Or I've been thinking about it.
Okay, so by the time you make your intentions known,
you already have
you begin to consider.
And all that. So when you make the intentions known, the person will also let you know.
But is it not dangerous for you to do all these things before you make your intentions known? What if the girl says no?
That is the way it should be. So when she says no, it will be easy for you.
But what I'm saying is, practically speaking, the guy has already fallen in love. He has
That
already
one, is that changing from what's happening now with 100 talking stage?
Valid.
It's even worse. The other way is worse.
Multiple heartbreaks.
Yes, it's worse. At least that one, you're not going to go far in your mind.
Before you either get your yes or your no.
Exactly. And then there will be nobody's playing with anybody's hearts. There is no unmet expectation. Because that issue of unmet expectation is the biggest problem. Because I have not made an expectation, I have not created an expectation that I'm going to break. Because I didn't ask you out before making my intentions known. So when you tell me from the beginning that I need time to think about it, or no, or yes, there's no, all those unmet expectation routes has been totally cut off.
I see. I think one other thing.
This is where, sorry, let me know.
Okay.
Now this is where there's the blame of the society part. Now this is where the blame for individuals a lot in this generation. This is another place where it comes in. It comes in the fact that a lot of people are sinful. And what they are doing is that they want to enjoy the benefits of the exclusivity and
without making any commitment.
And without making any commitment.
And this works both ways.
And it works both ways. And that is the reason why that whole pathway needs to be cut off.
And that's way, even as a society, when I started by saying the way somebody behaves is affecting the way another person is affecting the way another person. It affects all of us.
It affects everybody.
It's not just you and the person.
People don't know. Heartbreak is heartbreak.
Hi.
Sickness of the heart is sickness of the heart. Unmet expectation causes sickness of the heart, and it's not the same. If you do talking stay with a person and your mind has latched onto the person, and the person now ghosts you, the person doesn't need to have asked you out. The pain you will experience is as much as the pain of we're dating.
Thank you, sir. Which now brings me again, we're trying to define, practically speaking, how Christians ought to do this thing. Everything we've described, again, not that we're putting any hard rule to it.
This is what this, yes,
everything we've said. Ideally, how long do you think it should take? Because time is also part of these things. And I'll give practical examples. So a guy makes his intention known to a girl, and she says, let me think about it and pray about it. One week
and he's not alone in telling her that intention.
2 weeks he has gone.
The family is involved in that intention he made known.
What do you mean by the family is involved?
Before he made known his intention, the family is involved in the intention he made known. So he has told his parents.
Okay, he's looking at someone. Okay, so again now, weeks have gone and she's thinking about it. Weeks, sometimes into months.
This is the beauty of even our communal thing.
Now I want to also flip it. There's also the part of a guy. We're all brothers and sisters in church. We know normally we used to talk. All of a sudden, somebody is trying to help me carry my own load as a boy, and the person is beginning to hang around the lady. Now let's assume that in a church, we are all aware of these agreed norms to say things like this. Yes, even though you talk to somebody, talk to your pastor before you come and make your intentions known, talk to your parents and all of that. You already know when a guy is hanging around. When you say close marking,
that's what I'm saying.
So that close marking too, right, is a thing. We might not consider it. It's fine. Formal, it's actually fine. Thing. Yes. Now, problems that have arisen is people hanging around or close marking a lady for so long, knowing fully well that they might never really ask them out. Let me give an example. Tim Keller gave an example in his book where he was saying that him and Kathy were good friends. They were best friends for a very long time. He had a prior relationship that didn't end well, but they were still like good friends. Until one day she called him and told him that this thing you're doing of hanging around and not making any intention, I'm not ruling that way. I'm not doing this with you, and I cannot continue waiting to see if you'll be ready one day or not ready another day. So
let me know what's up.
She just said, I'm not doing this with you. That's the end of this. And then he went, thought about it, prayed about it, and then came and made his intentions. So it happens, right? It happens when guys just, either for lack of maybe indecision, or some might actually be trying to be funny. Whereas they are close marking this one, they are close marking 2 other people, right? And they are still thinking about it. So the question I want to ask now is, how long does it take for people to make up their minds on what they want to do?
I can't draw a line, but the good thing is that if we are going this way of a healthy community around you, even the healthy community will, in an unspoken sense, will give you a sense of when it has become inappropriate.
Yeah,
so you
it's taking too long.
It's taking too long. Like in church now, the person's getting married and all that, or your family or your area and all that, and your parents have noticed that this guy is coming around, he's coming to greet you.
All the time. He's coming to drop you, he's coming to...
Say, and Lamori, let's look for a daughter's name that we can use any name. Chidima, it's taking too long. why is this guy always around you and everything? There's a point where your parents will know, your pastors will know, your friends will know that, bro, this is, let's make and all that. So that's the beauty of the conversation. So I can't put a hard line about where it comes in appropriate. There are too many variables to be able to tell everybody a blanket, like, you'll get to a point. But we know.
I will put hard line.
Now, wow.
Yes. I will put hard line. You are not a child.
You see?
You are an adult.
You're already defining the lines.
Wait
What
now.
of age? Things like age.
No, so you're not a baby, you're not an adult. You should know what you want. And it works both ways. Right, both to the guy and to the girl.
Yeah, is it 3 months, John's support?
3 months, 3 weeks. I'm talking about before you ask the question or before you give answer to the question that has been asked.
Oh, you have to clarify. So are you talking about giving answer to the question?
Giving answer to the question.
Oh, that one is
asking the question too. What kind of due diligence are you doing for more than 3 weeks?
You know, we're brothers in Christ now. We're friends in church.
No, I'm not talking of friends. I'm not saying you can't be friends. We will be friends with people of the opposite sex perpetually. Like, there's no end date for that.
Okay.
But I'm talking of that thing where you begin to hang around somebody.
Okay. That's intentional dancing around.
That intentional dancing around.
Like
Make up your mind.
Seems so arbitrary.
How long? No, me, I said, I want to draw a line. I like to draw a line. If by 3 weeks, what are the other things you want to know that you've not found out?
Let's reassess, Abby. Let's reassess every 3 weeks.
Should I tell you why? If at that particular point in time you're not sure what you want to do, then hands off.
Is there like a reason why you're in 21 days, or what's like your reason?
No, I cannot dip it.
I
cannot dip it more than that 3 weeks.
You just fasted for 40 days now.
Okay, so we should do 40 days, Abby. But me, I just want a hard number. In my mind, I was like, 2 weeks is too short. Let me not put pressure on that people. But 3 weeks. And again, I'm being specific. It's not that when you should be able to close everything, but when you should know what you want. When your heart.
If I'm praying about someone asks me out for like 3 months.
No, you don't want that person.
You don't want the person.
You don't want the person. You don't want the person. Most times, what happens, and I'm assuming.
You have to just let them know.
Oh, I believe in it.
Later,
yes, I believe in because I think it's a painful thing to do to someone. It's something you won't want done to yourself.
Yeah, I get you.
Do you understand? You can't keep
I
somebody
get you.
in limbo for 3 months because guess what? If it's on the other side of praying for an answer to give the person, in that 3 months where the person is waiting to hear an answer from you, can they go and start asking other people out? What are they supposed to do with their feelings?
It's unethical. They shouldn't.
And like I said, the difficult thing in this entire process is where the feelings start developing, where the feelings stop developing. That one, I can't even put a hard time. But that's how feelings are.
Yeah, I guess
the more you think about the person, the more you hang around the person, the more the feelings for the person become stronger. Do you understand? So I like to put hard rules to that. We're supposed to talk about 5 more things. I'm going to be able to do more. Let me see. So that's about dating.
How many minutes have we got? Do you know? Do you guys do?
Okay. Let's talk about, since you mentioned family interference for Christians, and then you gave a caveat to say, assuming that the family is a biblical family, is a Christian family, you get them involved. For Christians, okay, before we go into for Christians, what are some of the norms you've seen when it comes to family interference, when it comes to dating, courting, and marrying?
I've seen all kinds. So even calling something a norm, say, go hard me. I've seen all kinds. I've seen...
Should I help?
Yeah.
I think maybe, again, this will not have to be cultural, like this side of the world. One of the things we've seen is expectations from either, if the child is a male or female, sometimes determines what they expect. There are families that want and I'm talking generically, not talking Christian, there are families that, of course, want their daughters to marry a wealthy man. There are families that want their children to marry somebody from the same tribe.
That tribe one is common.
That tribe one is very common. In fact, there are families that have in their states and villages tribes that you can't marry from. It's one thing to want them to marry from the same tribe. Another thing for you to forbid them from marrying because, and these are real life situations we've heard of you saying you can't marry someone from this particular tribe because of whatever thing is tied to that tribe. So those are some of the things we've seen, right? And that's around courting and dating. And then, of course, coming into marriage, there's a level of involvement that the families might want to be involved, even from how the marriage is carried out. I'm talking of the wedding ceremony to how the marriage is. There's a level of involvement, and then there's people, sometimes parents wanting to live vicariously through your own life. So those are some of the things I think I can say I've seen. Is there any other thing you think?
True, but there's also a lot of laid backness nowadays. A lot of parents are really laid back, yes. Like, the only thing they get involved in is marriage party. wedding party. Like when you are dating, like go and find
Are you saying
someone,
they don't
and if you
care
don't find
too
someone, they'll
much
be dragging
about
you. That
the
what are you doing?
details?
What are you doing? They don't care about it. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why have you not found someone? Why have you not, they don't care. This you
So their own problem. So wait, you're saying that what they're doing now is putting pressure.
putting pressure on people. They're just putting pressure on people, and they are laid back. They're just putting pressure on people, and they're laid back. They
But
don't even
do you
care,
think that doing that way is because they know that their children might not necessarily be interested in marrying who
No,
they
maybe
pick
because
for you?
maybe because no. Funny enough, yeah, I'm convinced that if we run an experiment and we deliberately, as societies, good communities, begin to pick for people versus people going to look for themselves, I'm convinced that you will see that the amount of happy marriages and relationships and where they have true attraction between themselves that will come from those that were arranged versus those that went out to find for themselves, that it will not be different.
It won't be the difference
Not
won't be
necessarily
won't be
one,
so
number
much.
two, but
Yeah.
the amount of heartbreaks and catastrophes will
Will
be lesser
reduced.
with those that. I'm not convinced that what guarantees that you will be attracted to the person you are dating is that you found the person by yourself. The truth is that many times, if people find a good-looking person, if people can see,
Yeah.
your community can see, they can see that the person is fine. They too can see. They too can see that this person is your kind of person. They can see. You're not the only one that knows yourself. Many times, people know you more than you. Many times, your parents will tell you that, you see, this girl or this guy, she will gel with you more than what you think. Many times, our choices for ourselves are even not as good as what people would do for us because they know us well.
So they know us in a different way.
Yeah, they know us in a different way.
They've seen how we've done. They've seen our
Exactly.
pattern of living.
Exactly.
And sometimes they can always tell.
They can
Like for
always
your
tell.
brothers and sisters and
They
things
can
like
always
that, you can tell
a
that.
parent that is close to their child, when they see someone around their child and they notice the person's behavior, many times they can
They
tell
already
that,
know
this
where the
one
problems will be
they
and
can
things
tell.
like
Yeah.
that. Okay, valid. So, Christians, how again? And okay, let me start because I already have opinions, right? For Christian families, I would say it's very important to be involved in the lives of who your children,
Absolutely.
how they even make their decisions as regards
Absolutely.
marriage. Now, I'm not
Absolutely.
saying you don't need to go too far to hear details. Your involvement should not be seen as pressure,
Yeah.
but your involvement should be seen as, number one, you cultivating the right values and mindset. It starts from there in the child, right? To know what to look out for. You reassuring them of your love so that they don't go about looking for love in the wrong place. So that's where it starts from, actually. The work doesn't start from you saying yes, no, when they bring a man to you.
Yes.
It starts from how you've raised
that's
your
proactive,
child, how you've, and from the very young age, right? The Christian thing also to do is, again, it doesn't make sense for you to pressure both either deal. Like, just putting unnecessary pressure is not the thing to do. You want to find out what's going on with the person's life. Like, your time is not the same time that people are in now. Like, if you know that your child is working all the time, and from work, you know, the way, especially if you're living in Lagos, you go from work to house, to work to house. The life that you think people are living is not really like that. Most people are too tired to go anywhere other than, and then again, if they are Christians, most times they might just be going from work to church to, their house. So if you really truly understand what they are going through, putting pressure on them doesn't even make any sense. So that's how your involvement should be. And of course, you should be praying for them to bring the right person. And you can also introduce them where, just like you said, you know more about them. So feel free to make introductions.
When you know a family, like now that I'm getting to know that I can really say it, you know a family. You know a man, a father, a woman, and her children. You know the way they think in their family, any kind of cultures. You can tell that the way this boy is growing. I used to go and visit my friend, and I know the way the boy is doing. I can tell that this boy and this girl, they shouldn't have too much problems gelling. You can tell. So it should actually be committed. People should begin to add it to the things that they see themselves doing as parents. A lot of people, when they're thinking of, when they're growing up and getting married and all that, you're young, you're just thinking of naming your child in a cute Yoruba name or a nice Igbo name, and you're just thinking of how you make sure the child is born abroad and pay a nice school fee. One of the things you should start thinking of as a child is that God will use me to find a good family for my child to marry into. It's not good like as we're going to force it on the child, but gentle coaxing in the direction, selecting.
Yeah.
Organize meetings for them to see. Yes, it's part of things you should think of that.
Part of things that should be
add
top
to
of
your
mind.
responsibilities.
Yes.
On your
Add
mind.
to your prayers. Add to and
Yes.
don't go the lazy way out of just putting.
Just like that, go to school. Go and find someone in school.
Bring somebody.
No. You understand? Then, I want to make a note about tribalism.
Yeah.
As a Christian, tribalism is a terrible sin.
Yeah.
It's a terrible sin.
As a Christian, it's like it doesn't make sense.
It's a terrible sin. If you know any parents that claims to be a Christian that is saying that your child cannot marry from a particular tribe, they are forbidding what God has not forbidden. They are calling God's people unclean. You are doing a great evil.
And you answer Jesus.
If you have a parent like that, you should preach to your parents. Maybe they've forgotten the gospel. You need to preach to them and let them know that this thing you are doing is a sin.
Because it's a sign that you are the tribe first before you're a Christian.
Yes. Apart from that, yes, that's one. Then apart from that is that you are standing in direct opposition to what your Lord did. Your Lord came to break down the wall of partition, to make all of us one commonwealth. He came to redeem us out of every tribe and every tongue and every nation. And then subconsciously, if you are saying you cannot marry from a tribe, you are assuming that you are somehow superior to that tribe, or you are saying that tribe is unclean. You are calling what God has called.
Implications of that
you have called someone washed with the precious blood of Jesus an unclean person. And not just the person's entire tribe are unclean.
Put a judgment on them.
That is a sin. It's a terrible thing. And so if you have such parents, you should preach to them. And if you're a Christian and you are young listening to this, and you are thinking like that, you repent of your sins. Don't let God treat you the way you are treating people. If God should treat you according to your uncleanness, you're done.
Yeah.
You're really done. So tribalism is a terrible sin. We should repent of it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about practice of sex.
Sex, yeah.
That one is even
very clear. We know what the current practice is.
The current practice is we're having a lot of hookup culture, sleeping with people that you're not committed to.
Yeah.
Then
even
there's a lot
sleeping
of
with people that you're committed to, but you are not married.
Yeah, so let's gradate it.
Okay.
But sleeping with people that you're not committed to at all. There's no romantic commitment at all.
Yeah.
Then sleeping with people that you're committed to but you're not married to.
Yeah.
In courtship. Then then there's obviously getting married in marriage and having sex in marriage and all those kinds of things. So those two, any sex that is before the wedding vow is wrong.
Yeah, for
right?
a Christian,
it's
very
wrong
clear
for humanity. It's destructive for humanity.
Yeah.
It's terrible for humanity. It's one of those laws that God puts in our hearts as human beings, that our conscience even tells us, even if you don't have the law of Moses, you just know that this thing does not make sense. That's why in a pagan culture, if you sleep before you get married, it's an abomination. We sleep with someone before getting married is an abomination. It's all those laws that God put in human hearts that Paul refers to in Romans chapter 2. You just know, because there's a great privilege to be physically intimate with someone on the level of sex.
Yeah. And that thing should be reserved for...
That's one level. That's one level. There's the privilege of the enjoyment, the intense pleasure from it. Then number two is that it's the only pathway. It's the means that God has chosen through which children has come into the world. Now, those children are meant to come into the world, into a loving family where they will be taken care of and they would grow and have good self-esteem so that they will know the world well and well taken care of now. So that's why the evil of having sex outside marriage, it cascades into so many things, that it destroys so many things because it ends up destroying people.
Yeah.
Right?
It destroys the family unit.
Yes.
Which then destroys the esteem of people.
Let me dip it. When you're having sex outside of marriage, that sex is supposed to come with a commitment. You're not supposed to enjoy certain things if you're not going to take responsibility for that person.
Yeah.
So if you remove the responsibility and enjoying the privilege, you are abusing the person, you are using the person.
Yeah, you're taking advantage.
Yes, you are using the person as an object. So the only way that human beings will not become objects is when you put their goodness, what they are valuable for, you don't separate it from your commitment to them.
Okay.
Let me use other things before I go into sex, where people understand. A worker, the only way a worker does not become a slave or an object is that as he's working, he's justly paid. If you are paying the worker and the worker is not working, the employer is being used.
Yeah.
The employer is just an object.
And if you're working and
if the person is working and the person is not being paid, you're using the person like a slave.
Yeah.
So privilege and responsibility must always come together. If not, somebody is being used as an object. That's the definition of objectification.
Yeah.
The person becomes no more a human being. What it means to objectify a human being is to reduce a person from someone that you can love, someone that you can do good for, and who can also do good, and reduce them to only the benefits you can get from them. When they become a tool, an object in your hand for getting certain pleasures. That's what objectification is. So slavery or using your bosses and all that, those are all forms of objectification. Now, for a human being, especially when it comes to sex, when you're looking at a person as a means for sexual pleasure, when you're not committed to the person, to give the person any of the benefits that comes from that, you will reduce the person to an object and all that. So that's why hookup culture has led to the objectification of both men and women. For women, in the culture now, women are seen basically as sexual objects in the hookup culture. Men don't see women as people that they should build things with. They just see them as something you can use and discard. And then the men are also seen as either sexual objects or a means for getting stuff. So that's why even all these premarital sex cultures, they're just using using the guy as an ATM or whatever it is. That's what it leads to.
Yeah.
The benefits you're going to get from a person must not be unhinged from your responsibility to them.
Your responsibility and commitment to that person.
So that's why hookup culture leads to all these emotional problems. Objectification is very painful on human beings. So that's why it leads to objectification roundboard. So that's one level. Then even the deeper level now, when we proliferate a culture of practicing the only way by which human beings come into the earth indiscriminately outside of the safety of a family, human beings are going to be coming into the world to single families, to families where the father and mother never really loved each other, or they don't have a bond.
And their first introduction into
the world, and then you are damaging them. And as you're damaging them, they're going to perpetuate that damage into a subsequent generation. If God should judge premarital sex by its possible effects,
the implications
everybody that does it should be destroyed. Because it's a sin
from
against
humanity. To the next generation, from one person to the other person.
Do you know how many, and I'm talking like this, do you know how much it's touching? Because I've seen families like that growing up, where a young girl at the age of 16 met one Okada boy, they had sex, the boy ran away. The girl now gave birth to a girl. Because of that, she needed a man to take care of her, but she didn't find. So over some years, she slept with another guy that owns a beer parlor. Then she now has 2 different children from 3 different people. Those children now grew up when she was young, and then as they're growing up too, they don't get educated because there's nobody to take care of them. Their fathers are not there. They don't have any good examples. So those girls also grew up to have those kind of rules. So by the age of 13, 14, they are being abused by men around and all that because their father was around. You can't abuse a man. He will kill you. So before you know it, you now have something that they're calling generational curse. Because someone somewhere started having sex without taking responsibility for the person.
And introduce people
and
into
contraception
this world
is not the solution. Because sin is not, you cannot cover sin like that. You cannot cover sin. You cannot hide sin.
Yeah.
It's an evil. It will show. It will spread.
It will show. It will show.
So it will not solve the issue of objectification.
It can protect you from the emotional.
And you now add the layer of abortion on top. So it's a proper evil.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's not even a Christian thing. All cultures just know. It's something written in our hearts. All cultures just know that this sex thing, you don't do it before a proper public commitment to a person. If you do, that society will unravel because it is the pair bond that is the building structure of every society. Like Legos, every society is Legos. The core Legos, the last one, is the pair bond between a man and a woman.
Family unit.
The family unit. So no, it's totally unacceptable.
There's no need to.
There's no way to talk about it.
For Christians,
don't have sex with the person you are not married to.
there.
Don't say we are deeply in love. It felt so right. Don't even do it.
Don't bother.
You are contributing to evil. Don't do it.
And you're sinning against God.
You're sinning against God. You're sinning against humanity. You're sinning against your future children. Don't do it.
All right.
Don't do it.
Thank you, Pistan. It came out.
It came out, right? I've been trying to calm my voices, but.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode, which was broken down. See you guys later.
See ya.